Hey, welcome back. Today we're in the workshop and I want to go over something that I made for my wife, and it has really helped her out in the organization aspect of everything. And you guys know, if you've watched any of my other videos, how throughout the garage I like to have things organized. But today we're working on a project for a friend of my wife. And what it is, or what I call a jewelry wall. What that is it's just a place that she can hang her cosmetic jewelry. Her necklaces, earrings, watches, bracelets, things like that. So I had to come up with an idea of how she could have those organized in a nice, neat manner. And she used to have a couple of jewelry boxes in her closet. And every time you would open a jewelry box, that jewelry was just scattered everywhere, laying on top of each other. Necklaces always got tangled, things like that. So I'm going to go over building another one of those. And several of my wife's friends had seen this jewelry wall that she had and requested or asked if I could make them one too. So now I'm on, I think this will be the fourth one that I'm going to make today. And I wanted to video it to give you guys an idea of how easy it is to make and how much that your wife or your girlfriend or significant other could benefit from one of these. So sit back and let's get started on this. All right, so earlier in the video I said that I've made 3 of these and I'm working on the 4th one. And I was fortunate enough to ask my sister-in-law, Deb, if she would allow me to come out and show you hers that I made. And I guess it's the same concept of all the other ones that I've made. Basically the box type frame with some shelves and some hooks in it. And I guess I wanted to ask Deb what she thought and what are some of the pros and cons of having one of these things rather than the jewelry boxes that you did have. And how did you actually find out about this?
Well, I found out about it because Autumn is my sister and Autumn has one. And when I saw it, I was super jealous, and Doug, out of the kindness of his heart, made me one. And I am so grateful for it. First of all, there are no cons to this whatsoever. Absolutely no cons.
Having to find wall space
No. Absolutely not.
Was easier?
This wall is not usable anyhow. If I had put a dresser there or even jewelry boxes there, it'd be too wide and you couldn't get through. So this was actually the perfect wall for
And if you guys haven't realized, we're in her walk-in closet right now. So these can be put into a walk-in closet. They can be put in a closet. They can be put in a bedroom, a bathroom, wherever. It just depends on what the space you have and your options. So I think Deb chose that she wanted it in the closet here.
Right.
And why did you want it in the closet? Because
this is where all my clothes are. This is where I kind of get ready. It's right off from my bathroom, so everything is right at fingertips length here.
Right.
So I went from having 2 big, huge jewelry boxes to being able to see everything at a glance. If I'm wearing pink, I can go right to where pink is. If I'm wearing teal, I can go right to where teal is. And everything is right where I need to be able to see it.
Okay. Now, we've noticed, and with yours and the others, that the way I designed these was, and yes, these are door stops on here, and that was the only thing I could find that would work for putting bracelets and watches on. But I've noticed that you and Autumn have done the same kind of thing. Is on the shelf itself is where you've kind of set some watches as well.
Yeah, and it's great. Honestly, the doorknobs, or whatever those things are called.
Door stops
are perfect for that because it also provides this lip. So if you put too much on there, like if you look here, I have a couple on one, and they don't slide off because that little lip that's on it stops it from sliding off.
And what I did was with those door stops is I pulled the rubber bumper off the end of it, just so it looked kind of weird with the rubber bumper on it. And then I think with what Deb does here, she can put her jewelry on and then look in the mirror to make sure everything matches her clothes. Yeah. So back to this again, and this is all cosmetic jewelry, and I know that both you and Autumn really enjoy your decorative jewelry, so you can see all the chains and necklaces and everything that are hung up on here, and she's got them kind of organized in in what, a certain color?
Yeah, well, I did silver up top and like silver and black. And then if I had mixed metals, I kind of put the mixed metals together. And then I tried to do gold. And sometimes when I'm lazy and I'm tired and I just come in and I throw it up there, and then later I'll go back and reorganize it again. But
Now, one thing, when you had this stuff in a jewelry box, and this goes back to the garage organization that I've done for as long as I can remember, when it used to be in your jewelry box, how big of a pain in the butt was it to find something you were looking for compared to now?
well, I wore the same thing all the time because it was where I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just ended up wearing the same earrings every day, the same necklace every day. And with this, I see everything at a glance, and
You can pick it out pretty easy.
right.
And how about as far as being tangled up and stuff compared to
No,
a jewelry
nothing
box?
tangles because it's all hanging straight. So I never have a tangled chain.
Okay.
Never a knot.
Now you'll notice there's not any rings or earrings on this particular setup because it just really wasn't designed for that. But you could put rings on the shelf here if you were to make one for yourself.
Or you could make me one that kind of fits right here. That would be for,
For rings and earrings?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll show you on Autumn's box that we made. I've got a separate spot off to the side that I made some metal racking for her earrings. But so I guess in a nutshell, give me a 5-second what benefit you see with this, or what is it that you like about it?
My favorite thing about it is I don't have two big, huge, clunky jewelry boxes that I'm tripping over that are in my way. Everything is where I can see it. I end up wearing different stuff more often because I can see it. My stuff doesn't get tangled. Honestly, at this point, I couldn't live without it.
Yeah, well, good. And, that was one of the benefits that when she did the addition onto this closet, and I'm not going to show you around through the closet here, but the reality of it is if she had to have a jewelry box or two sitting here on the floor, they really would have been in the way because they stick out a couple feet
They
each
do.
way.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this,
you just don't see the stuff. When stuff is in a jewelry box, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
right?
Here, it's always right there. I see it.
Yeah. So, this really, it saved a lot of floor space. It got it up off the floor and on the wall.
It's pretty.
Yeah. It's this would be the same thing as a guy's toolbox.
Right.
You walk in and it's all organized and everything like that. So, guys, if you're out there and your wives are standing over your shoulder watching this, I'm sorry, but you might end up having to try to make them one. So, with that, thank you, Deb, for letting us come out and show your jewelry box and explaining what you liked about it and all that. And thanks for being in the video.
Thanks for making it for me.
Alrighty. In today's project, we're actually making out of a pine board. It's not rough cut. It's been planed and machined down, so it's somewhat smooth. And I'll go through and sand it up. But it is 3.5 inches wide and 3/4 of an inch thick. My board's all ready to go to be stained, and what I've done was put screws in the ends of them here on both ends, and what that allows me to do is paint all 4 sides. And I used a board across to have the screws sit on, and again on this side as well, screws on this side sits on that board. So as I stain each board, I can flip it and do the other side and just leave it sit there, bring another board over, stain it, and then work my way backwards out of here, and then they can all sit and dry. There's the boards all stained up, and as you can see, they're all resting on those screws on the boards. Both sides are done. There's no doing one side, waiting for it to dry, flip it over and do the other side. It just makes it a lot simpler. And when we remodeled our house, this is how I did all my kitchen cabinets and all the interior doors in the house. Put screws or bolts or nails or anything in the ends of them that are the ends that don't matter, and you can do the whole thing. And as you see here, it's just sitting here to air dry for the rest of the evening, and I think that's where we're going to pick back up tomorrow on this. So what I've done here on my chop saw is I come up where I made a bracket on here. It bolts to the top part of the back of the fence, and underneath here it's got a point for a stop. So I can set that at whatever length, and then any fine adjustment I need to do can be done on this back screw here to slide that top fence back and forth a little bit. So it actually makes it pretty easy, and that's just a piece of angle iron. I don't know what the actual name of that would be, but so now all I do is I slide my board in underneath, and you can see that it comes up here and hits that stop. So every board now that I need, and like I said, I need I think 8 or 9 of them anyhow, cut to the exact same length, or I want them to be the exact same length, not a pencil width off on each one. So that's why I do that. Created a solid stop, and we're going to go ahead and cut these all down to the 25.5-inch finished length for the width of the top shelves that go on that jewelry wall box. Okay, I've got all my boards cut off for the shelves and the back wall bracket portion of it. There's my cutoff pieces, and like I said, you can see I've cut the ends off that I run the screws in and all that, and now I've got good crisp clean cuts on both ends of these boards. So now what I need to do is just lightly hit them, the edges, and break off any little bit of splinters, and then wipe a little bit of stain on them. That way there's no light spots when they come together. Now I've got all my materials cut. All the boards are cut to length, the side rails, the cross pieces and shelving and all that. So I think we can clean up the saw, put it away, and start doing some assembly work. Okay, I've got all my board ends stained, and now what I'm starting to do is mark out for all the hooks. And those are the little hooks, as you can see, that the necklaces and whatever will hang off of. And because it's a dark brown wood, you really can't take a pencil and mark on there. You just can't see the markings. So what I've done is made a pattern on a piece of graph paper, and I'm going to tape that onto each one of these that has these hooks. And I went through and just center punched, or just put a little dimple mark in there for each one of those. And what those are for is the screw hole locations. And you kind of have to do that because it keeps them nice and parallel, keeps everything in line, and then it keeps it all on the 1-inch spacing that I've got there. So each one of these hooks is 1 inch apart, and then each one of the door stops is 2 inches apart. If you guys haven't ever seen one of these, it's a DeWalt gyroscopic screwdriver. And as you rotate your hand, it makes the bit move. The further you move your hand or rotate it, the faster it goes. Pretty handy little item. I put a #1 Phillips bit in it for these tiny little screws. And this project, when I built the other 3 jewelry walls, these tiny little screws and having to do hundreds and hundreds of them is one of the reasons why I bought this particular thing, to make it so much easier. And something like this is also a lot better for these tiny screws, because if you use any kind of cordless screw gun or anything kind of like this one, you will sink those screws way too far. There's less control, and it's just too much of an impact gun for doing these tiny little screws. So we'll go ahead and get the other ones marked up and get the hooks on this. See, I've got one of them done. They're all screwed on. I've got two more I have to do with all the hooks. I've got a whole bag of little hooks and a bunch of little screws. I won't bore you with doing any more of these or filming that. So we'll get the rest of these done. There, they're all done. All the hooks are on, ready to go for the next step of putting the top shelf on those. Got all my shelf brackets made. All the hooks are in them, and I'm getting ready to go ahead and put this box frame together. So I'll get this squared up. Throw a couple clamps on it. Then I'll run some glue down it and put a couple nails and screws in it. So right about there looks pretty good. Alright, so now you should have a pretty good idea what this is looking like and how it's taking shape. You might wonder, okay, what was the blue tape for? Well, on a dark stained wood like this, you can't make a pencil mark on it and see it very well, if at all. And secondly, I don't want to put pencil marks on something that's already been stained because you can't get rid of them. You can't erase them, can't remove them. So the best way to do it, and it creates a really nice crisp line, is just to use piece of painter's tape. So that's what I did for that, and it's all together except for, now I'm going to go down through here and put a couple of screws that go into the flat board that goes against the wall, and we'll get those all taken care of. I just want to double check it is nice and square, but when I go ahead and put these screws in, I wanted to make sure that for no reason at all they would rack this whole system. So I'll get it all good and clamped down again, and then put the rest of my screws in there, and it should be pretty much done. Other than, like I said earlier, the door stoppers I need to put in there for hanging bracelets. What I do here is I pull the bumper cap off the end of it, and some of them are white, some of them are black or brown or whatever. These just happen to come with a white bumper cap on them, and I don't use that. I don't like it on there. It doesn't look right. I've got one installed on there now, and I just go through and pull all the caps off and save the caps. You just never know what in the world you'll use for one of them. So let's go ahead and get these all in. Alright, I've got all the door stops installed, and again, if you've missed it, this is what you hang the bracelets on. They're spaced out at 2 inches across at an even spacing. Everything else is done with this. other than taking it out and hanging it on the wall. If I was to take a guess, I would bet that I've got maybe 8 to 10 hours total time into this. And really the longest part of it all is screwing all these things in and doing the staining. Other than that, you're just cutting boards off on a chop saw to a correct length, and then that's about it. So we will see you shortly for getting it hung up at the new owner's house. All right, so we made it out here to Autumn's friend, and her name happens to be Senta. She's the one who's getting the new jewelry wall, and we're putting it up here between a bathroom door and a closet door. And the space on here, I think, is about 28 inches is what we checked before I started making it. And like I said earlier, I need to attach this thing to studs in the walls. And what I've done is I've come through here with some magnets. I just have a rare earth magnet, and it's easier than using a stud finder, and you just back and forth and you can usually find a screw in the wall. So what I've done is found one up here, here, and here are the screws in the wall, so that tells me that the stud runs straight up through there. So we will use that and put the corresponding screws into the jewelry rack here and mount it up on the wall. But as you can see, this is, and I'm not going to show all around the room, but this is in her bedroom, and it's going to work out really well. So when she comes out of the closet, she's got her mirror here. She can pick her jewelry off the wall and make it corresponding and match. So let's go ahead and get this thing mounted up so she can get all of her jewelry loaded on. Okay, we got it all mounted up on the wall. It's solid. It's got a screw in each one. But here was an interesting little fact that I guess I wasn't aware of when they mounted or was starting to mount this on the wall. But as I was screwing screws in, it seemed like I hit a metal plate in the back, and I thought that was kind of odd. So we opened this door and thought, okay, well, what could be behind there? And wasn't anything there. So when I opened this door, I went to push on it and it didn't move. So it's a pocket door that goes in right behind where the jewelry wall was. So keep that in mind, that if you ever decide to run a 3-inch long screw into a stud, or what you think is a stud, make sure you know what door is on the side of that and if it actually is a pocket door. But it all worked out well. I just took the screws that I had and I cut them down. Just used a hacksaw. Fortunately, Senta's husband had one, and cut it down, resharpened the point, and just shortened them up, put them in there. So they did find the framework for the pocket door. But nope, there's no scratches on the pocket door. I didn't let it get that far, and it hit the metal plates in there before it would destroy anything on the door. So the door clears. No problems there. Everything opens and closes. And Senta, it's your turn now. And I know Autumn come out too with you, and she's going to help, I guess, throw some jewelry on this. So let's get her loaded up and we can get a final shot of it.
This is the fun part.